Hello everyone and welcome to Groovy Duke, your channel for all things groovy-lang. If you find any of these videos useful, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share so that more people can have a groovy day. Today we're going to be talking about closures. Closures are a very powerful feature within Groovy that enable things like code reuse, code passing, and DSLs. Lambdas, which you have in Java, are similar, but they're less powerful and don't have all the features that closures do. In this video, I'm going to be going through a couple examples, and I'm also going to be linking a video in the description by Dr. Venkat Subramaniam that goes much deeper than I'm going to be able to in this video, but it is also a lot longer. So let's get me off the screen and go down here, and I'm going to start with some code, and this is just some example code to give you an idea of like what we can do. So I have this class here called, we're going to call it the lock class, and the idea here is, say you had like a distributed lock class, lock library that you wanted to integrate with, and it had like an interface similar to this. So what you might do is you might have a do a lot of setup where, all right, you're creating the new lock class, and you have a try finally, so that you can check to see if you can lock, and then you lock it, and then you do whatever you're going to do within the lock, and then finally you come out and you unlock it. So there's like a lot of ceremony going around here in order to actually use this lock class. So and if I run it, you can see that the example code all runs fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some Groovy code here and show you what you can do within Groovy. So we'll paste this here, and we have the same lock class, and just as before, I created this lock service. So it has all the same stuff, except for within this lock, I am passing a closure. And this is going to be passing some code into this method. And what we're doing here, similar to before, is we're checking if we can lock, and then we lock, and then we call the code. So this is how you can actually call a closure, is just by taking the variable and putting parens in front of it, and that'll actually call the closure. And then we have our finally and our unlock. Now we create the service down here, and what I'm doing here is I have the lock service, and I call the lock method, and I am providing a closure. So you've seen this before when I've shown you like the .each and .collect, where you can have a closure for those. This is the same idea, but this is our closure. This is not doing the code that is in the .each. And similarly, like I've shown before, you could have parentheses around here, but what Groovy allows you to do is, if the last parameter is a closure, it allows you to drop those parentheses and just use it as is. So if I run this, now you can see that I have this first lock, and I'm running in that lock, and then I'm running in lock 2. So this allows you to actually reuse that code without having to do all that setup over and over again, which can be very powerful. So I'm going to go to my second example here, which is similar. Well, it's actually the same, but has a little bit more to it. So I'm going to paste this in here and show you another feature of closures. So another feature that closures have is the idea of delegates. So a closure can actually delegate to another class. So right here, what I'm adding here is I still have my lock class, but I added a DSL class. So that's just why I decided to call it for this example. And it has a method called lookup, which takes a string and it just prints looking up the key. I have a write, which takes a key and a value and prints out writing value to key. So nothing too fancy, just something for an example. And then we have our lock service again, which creates the lock from up here, and we have our lock method. Now the difference here is I took the closure and I am now setting its delegate to be that DSL class. So what this allows me to do, while I'm in the lock, I can actually call lookup and write, and pass these the keys and whatnot. So if I run this, what you'll see is the first lock doesn't have any of those methods, but this one actually will call the lookup and the write, and you'll see that looking up secret key, writing value to secret key. So another thing that you might notice is I've dropped the parentheses around here. So what Groovy allows you to do is if you have multiple parameters for a method in a method signature, you can actually drop the parentheses, and you get something that looks a little bit more like a DSL going on here. So that's why Groovy is very useful in creating DSL. Is it allows you to create code that will look a lot more like English written text or something like that, and things like this. So that's pretty much all I have for you today. So that's just a kind of a whirlwind of just going through a couple of the features of closures. There are more features, but I would say those are a bit more advanced, and you should probably look into the documentation for Groovy and stuff like that. I might do some more advanced tutorials in the future, but that's all I have for you today. So as always, have a groovy one.